We have some breaking news. This news actually came out 2 days ago. However, I was waiting for my sources on the ground to confirm it, even though I did see the video. But I wanted to make sure that I was translating this correctly and that it was being translated correctly because obviously Spanish is not my first language. But I do dabble. Living in Miami, you got to handle business. But with that being said, Evo Morales, as you all know, resigned and had to run to Mexico. I mean, for not only for his own life, but for the sake of everyone attached to him. There were politicians being threatened. Their families were being threatened. Their houses were being burned down. I mean, the guy did the right thing for the situation at the time because the situation was escalating to the point of irrationality. And of course, at this point, we have confirmed that the United States has had a hand in this military coup that took place in Bolivia. Now, a lot of people are wondering what happens next. As you all know, the opposition somehow took over as interim president. Once again, we have seen this playbook before, right? Oh, we're just going to install the opposition who has a minority in the legislature and make them the president, and hopefully everybody will accept it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, they did not accept this in Venezuela, and it looks like the legislature in Bolivia is not accepting it either, because according to Ralito Digital, they just voted to recognize the election and to reject Evo Morales' resignation, and that he is still president. In other words, it's a very similar situation to what happened in Venezuela. However, the difference is obviously Evo Morales had to flee to Mexico. Evo Morales also didn't have the unanimous support of his generals or the law enforcement like Maduro gained over time. So obviously he's in a different situation. Unfortunately, the United States was able to come in and corrupt that election in that situation in a more substantive way than they could in Venezuela. Now, what does this mean? Well, I don't know what it means in the going forward for Evo Morales personally, but it does clarify a few things. If you all remember my breakdown of this issue with Bolivia, what did I say? I said that people were alleging that somehow Evo Morales stacked the Supreme Court. I also clarified that that is impossible and is not the case, and anyone who is claiming this is a liar and they haven't done any research, because there's different people who are claiming this. There are some who are claiming because they heard it from hearsay. Others are claiming it because it is a right-wing lie that was pushed by the opposition. He cannot stack the Supreme Court, and I've said this. The list is introduced by their Senate, and then the list is voted on by what we would call in America our House of Representatives, or what they call their deputies. Evo Morales has no part in that officially. Now, could he make recommendations? I'm sure he can. He's the president. I'm not naive. However, to say that he was the one who personally selected everybody and then they voted on his list, that's not true. And like I said, it's peculiar to me that people can't see the obvious, because it isn't like Evo Morales himself personally had been winning and continued to win ever since 2008 when he beat out Carlos Mesa. But his legislature continued to be representative of his party. In other words, the people kept voting in Evo Morales. They kept voting in the Socialist Party in Bolivia into the Senate, and they kept voting in the Socialist Party of Bolivia into the deputies, or once again, what we would call the House of Representatives. So the Supreme Court seems to be representative of the people who keep voting in the socialists in that country. This was exemplified through this vote. The legislature, which is, you can say what you want about Evo Morales. Well, you cannot. You'd probably be wrong if you're saying that he was illegitimate. But you can say what you want, but you can't argue against the fact that the most representative body, the most representative branch of the Bolivian people, just like in the United States, just voted to legitimize the election after the Supreme Court legitimized the election and the people voted for him. What is the point of having checks and balances if the Supreme Court, one check, says that Evo Morales was legitimate in his run. The Congress, the legislature, 2 checks, said that Evo Morales was a legitimate president, and they're denying his resignation. They're rejecting his resignation, saying that he is, in fact, and indeed, the president of Bolivia. And the only ones that seem to have an argument with it, well, obviously wasn't the executive branch, but the right-wingers and the military and Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz. In other words, let's just say on its face, right? Let's just say on its face that Evo Morales did like, maybe we don't know anything else. We don't know about America's involvement up until this point. We don't know anything else. But we do know this. We know that the Supreme Court said Evo Morales was legitimate in his run, upholding a previous, they upheld precedent. They didn't even change anything. They just upheld precedent. And then the legislature also legitimized his election. That's 2 out of the 3 checks, and obviously Evo Morales himself probably agrees that he should be president. That's 2 out of the 3 checks and balances they have in their system. In America, if the United States military generals and secretaries wanted to overthrow our government because 2 out of the 3 checks and balances disagree with them, that would never happen, because the idea of that happening in our country is absolutely insane, as it should be seen as insane in what's happening in Bolivia. But 2, we would look at anybody out. That would never happen. It would just never happen. It isn't even fathomable, right? It's not. You're never going to see Mad Dog Mattis or Mike Pompeo or John Bolton decide because, so if Hillary won, well, let's be real, they would probably be part of her administration. But let's just say they were never going to be part of her administration because they're Republicans, and all of a sudden Hillary is a liberal, all of a sudden, right? Let's say they were never going to be part of that. If Hillary won, it would have probably be because she cheated, because that's what Hillary does, right? And there would have been a lot of evidence proving this. However, because of the way the courts were set up at the time, I think there was a Democrat majority, or it was half and half, but maybe one of the Republicans liked Hillary, so they were like, we got to legitimize this election. And then Congress, maybe the legislature, the House votes to legitimize the election. The Senate is split, but because of the 3/4 majority that is winning the House, they're like, nah, it's overturned. Because, or if the Senate split and then Hillary is the one, Hillary picks the VP, Tim Kaine was like, nah, she's legitimate. Do you think John Bolton is about to come in and be like, nah, we don't like it? Even if there was cheating, right? And that's like the most objective scenario. Even if there was cheating, the unfortunate truth of the matter is the good things about democracy can sometimes be the bad things about democracy. And you would have to take care of that on an individual level in the federal courts, state by state, by state, by state, by state, and go through the legal process to prove that Hillary Clinton should not be president. However, you would never see, after 2 branches of government confirm a president, John Bolton or Mad Dog Mattis or anybody come in and be like, nah, we're not playing that. Coup. That's not happening. But that's what took place in Bolivia. So, like I said, if at the bare minimum, this proves that the branches of government, that it seems like the same people who want Morales also elected the legislature and also elected, are in the legislature, representative of the people, selected the Supreme Court. And it seemed like before this coup, all the branches of government were representative of the will of the people. And that is a story that needs to be told. So please share this video. Share it wherever you can. I'll greatly appreciate it. It's extremely important that we continue to talk about this and show that the people are with Morales, whether or not you like him. Because guess what? Unless you're Bolivian, your personal opinion about Morales is irrelevant and irrespective of the facts. The facts are that Morales is indeed still the president of Bolivia, and anyone trying to overthrow the government is officially participating in an act of treason. Hey, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell if you like that segment of Mikasa Sukasa. Of course, if YouTube is giving you trouble, as it always does, you can download the Rokfin app and follow us there. Also, if you want to continue to help our show grow, you can help us reach our goal of 500 patrons on Patreon and donate as little as $1. Really, anything helps. Other than that, always remember, people, more than anything else, find your balance. Peace.